Hello, everybody. And I'm on the right side because my camera flips upside down. So I'm going to keep my camera off so people don't get some type of sickness from me being upside down. Pretending I'm in the Lost
Great. So they
Boys.
have to look at me. They have to look at me for like the next hour.
I mean, I can change this around, but there you go.
Super.
How are you doing, Russ?
I'm good, thanks, mate.
So basically, this will probably be our normal start time of the weekly show. Probably for now, it's just to be, we'll pick up wrestling topics to talk about. We can always do Russ's favorite jabbers. He likes jabbers and referees.
Haven't had a jobber of the day for ages. Slowly running out.
And NXT had a special referee last Wednesday since it was on Wednesday.
Mm.
And in Philadelphia at the, I don't know why they call it the 2300 Arena because it looks like just a theater, and now they put black curtains up on top of the top part where the actual theater would be. But
Mm.
you got one of the former ECW female stars on there, which you really only have one, so you probably know who that is.
Tammy Sitch. Or Beulah McGillicuddy.
I do miss for hardcore wrestling. You get a little bit on AEW, but it's not not as good. And it just seems
AEW.
so it seems so predictable on AEW.
AEW seems to try too hard.
Yeah, it's like they try to just pick up this banner where they're WCW 2.0. I mean, that's what they want to be, but it doesn't work
Mm. Not
because
really,
of my.
no. I don't really watch a lot of AEW, to be honest. I've seen the odd
I
one
think
on but just one of their weekly shows. But yeah, I don't really take much interest in it.
one of their three weekly shows, and that's a big problem.
Yeah, exactly. It's just too much wrestling on TV.
And that's one thing I was going to talk about because we'll get to Netflix later, but that's the problem is like you have all this stuff competing for what you consume, and I remember it was actually when Apple TV was about ready to premiere, and the
Mm.
Netflix CEO said that it really was a competitor to it that Nintendo Switch was. And I thought that was kind of an interesting take, but a true take because you can only consume so much entertainment. So
Well,
it's a
Apple
be
TV is
inter.
not really that great of a service. So I mean, you've support more
But
Netflix and Amazon Prime more than
yeah,
Apple's.
it's an Amazon. I consider Amazon Prime and Apple about the same. Apple probably has better quality shows since it seems like Amazon's kind of pulled back a little bit, but basically, it's gonna be interesting to see when because you're gonna get Raw, NXT, and SmackDown all showed on Netflix for most of the world. So it's gonna be interesting to see how
I thought
many
it was just
viewers.
Raw. I didn't think it was
Yeah,
SmackDown.
yeah, it's all of them. It's all three of
Oh,
them. Yep, you get
no,
them
I
all,
didn't
buddy.
realise. I didn't realize that. I just thought it was Raw. I thought that was me. I thought SmackDown was still going to be on normal television.
Nope. That's that's what you get for $4 billion, and this is what you get. We see if we can get me and Russ out of here for a second.
Please. Alonso's in the chat. Hello, Alonso.
Huh? Why isn't Alonso with us?
He might be busy.
But anyway, that's why I had these posted down here. Now I lost where they went. There you go. January 4th, which is actually the third here in the US, so these are to be confusing. Of course, Americans would think this is April 1st, but it's January 1st. It's your first appearance, first show on Netflix.
It's not the 4th of
And
January, no?
yep. So it's January 4th is be the first show. Then your second show, January 7th, you get this group of people, their main show, Raw, which is they're gonna try to make that their main show. We'll get talk into that later. They're actually gonna try to have a draft that matters. Then you have one that Russ doesn't care about, but Sam Greenwood likes it because it's just nutty and crazy. And January 8th, you will be having Ghetto NXT.
Do you know what? I probably would watch the pay-per-views, but they're on a Sunday, and there's just no chance I'm going to stay up and watch it.
Look down there. We got player 3.
Hello, how you guys doing today?
Evening,
Doing all right.
Alonso.
Hey Russ, hey Tony, how's it going?
It's
Sweet.
going. But if you kind of missed it, I planned on going through this later, but started here. I think they said just for Raw because Raw here is gonna be the only one you're getting. You're not getting anything else on Netflix. You're not getting any of the back library. All that stuff's coming 2026. So
Is that right, Tony? It's gonna come in a year from the start of Raw.
yeah, it's a come. I know the back library is. I'm not sure what they're gonna do with CW, and I'm not sure what they're gonna do with NXT, and but
Hey Russ, how much is it per month to pay for the WWE network?
I think it's £10. I get it off the various means, so I don't actually pay for it.
Oh, real nice, Russ, real nice.
A very good friend of ours lets me use their account.
Oh, okay. Like I let you, Tony the Tiger, use my Paramount Plus.
yes, I,
Oh,
I make
fantastic.
good. I make good use of it.
I'm sure you do, Tony.
Paramount Plus.
Hey man, it is what it is, Russ. You know, it's it's okay. It's not bad.
The only reason I would get Paramount Plus is you can watch if you change like your location to like Mexico or somewhere, you can actually watch like Premier League football.
Is that right on Paramount Plus?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's in Spanish though. That's the only thing. But if you use a VPN, change it to Mexico, you get all the Premier League games.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
and in Mexico, unlike the U.S., this is the 4th of January, not April 1st or April Fool's Day. But that's when that premieres in. I don't know if it premieres in Mexico or not. I'm not sure because I know U.S. and Canada, it's still gonna be the way it is. But then you get Raw. Oop,
Monday Night Raw.
good old touch screens. But then you get Raw,
I can't
January
wait.
7th.
It's going to be a lot easier to watch on Netflix, I'd imagine.
Yeah. And I imagine with this one here.
I have a lot of buffering issues with the network.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
That's not very nice of them. But this one, I would assume maybe we do a watch along of this. See how many bugs are in the Netflix system since they. What have they only done? Like a few stand-up comedy stuff. I'm just wondering how much torture tests they're doing on their system right now.
Yeah, the thing is, though, with Netflix, right? They've come across an issue in the UK because we have to pay a TV license fee to the BBC to watch TV, essentially, to watch TV on TV. But you don't have to pay a TV license if you want to use Netflix. But if, like, for the Tyson fight on Saturday, I think because it's a live thing, it's a live event, you have to have a TV license, even though it's on Netflix to watch it. So I don't know how that's going to work with WWE, essentially, because that'll be live as well. So I'm not sure how that works in the UK with sort of having a TV license and stuff. It's a weird thing. It's just a UK thing, but
Is BBC like the channel there in England?
it used to be. Basically, BBC were the first channel that ever came into existence in the UK, and it's a public funded broadcaster. So essentially, if you have a TV, if you watch any live TV, you have to pay a TV license to the BBC, which is, I think, it's about £170 a year. So it's about £17 a month, something like that.
But how does that work? Because like here you have BBC America, which I never watched too much, but you had BBC Worldwide, which would have basically British CNN. It's
BBC
BBC
World
doing,
News, yeah.
but it has its own channel here in the US.
Mm.
I watch it because it's actually news. Something.
Yeah, BBC World News, essentially, yeah.
If it was American, it'd be BBC World Opinion.
Yeah.
Because just US doesn't do news.
No, you don't do anything outside of the US, essentially.
And it's weird because like the ones that come on it.
Yeah, so basically what we were saying, was basically you pay a subscription for the TV license to the BBC because there's no adverts on it at all. So basically you pay the TV license so BBC doesn't have to have advertising. Whereas you have other channels like ITV and Channel 4 and which have advertising on like you guys do. So basically the TV license covers the revenue that BBC would get from having advertisements on it.
But I don't even know if you know the answer to this, Russ. But what about like there's some shows it's either There's some of them that's co-produced with HBO or whatever, but it's like BBC's one of the producers.
Yeah.
So, or they'll show something in the UK first, and they'll bring it over here.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that revenue works.
Well, BBC was still, you still have to pay your license, because in the UK, if they show it, even though it's an HBO partnership, if it's shown on the BBC, it won't have advertisements. But when obviously it's shown in the US, you'll have adverts every 5-10 minutes, like you usually do.
That sounds about right, Russ. And it's so annoying, man. I mean, I can't stand advertisements because, like, you're in the zone watching this program, and all of a sudden you see these damn ads show up. I'm like, God dang it! You know, I'm in thought here of what I'm going to watch. For example, I'm a big Yellowstone fan, and
Oh, okay, yeah.
you know, you can watch it on Peacock. I believe ad free, but then you get so used to watching a program on a streaming service that when you watch it live, like, oh crap, there's gonna be commercials, you know. So I think
Well,
the only good thing about advertisements on watching, say for example, if you're watching Office here in the States, right, the American version, there may be a minute long worth of adverts, whereas if you're watching a show live, you have like 15,000 commercials.
thing is,
Right.
in the UK, if for a half-hour TV program, they'll have one advert break, so that'll be like 15 minutes in. But you guys, you have like title credits, then an advert, then you show starts, then you have one in the middle, and then you have one before the credits roll at the end. I don't understand that.
That's why I liked. I don't know if they still do it. Alonzo, you probably do because you probably watch enough stuff on NBC. But on stuff like The Voice, they started where they would only take 1 minute commercials, and I know they still do that some on MSNBC on the news where you just get like 1 minute of commercial, then you're right back to the show, and they don't take all the breaks like they used to. Because like a 30-minute show is about 18 minutes. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
12, 12 minutes of it, you're sitting there watching adverts, which I was always of opinion. If you have to watch 12 minutes of ad, your TV should be absolutely free to you because, and to me, like, I know like Hulu has ad free, but I'm not spending $10 not to have ads because their ads aren't very bad. They're unobtrusive. You'll watch something that's like an hour long. So they might be two or three, like anywhere from 30 to 90-second long commercial breaks. So you might get 4 minutes of commercial on an hour long show, which is fine with me.
But it's like YouTube. Like if you're watching something on YouTube and an advert comes up, the advert could either be like a minute long or it could be 5 minutes long. Or I've actually had where I'm listening to something and an advert's come up and it's been like 20 minutes long. They have a podcast within a podcast. It's absolutely insane. I'm not paying £10 a month for YouTube Premium. No chance.
Yeah, that's why, and I hate it because like that's the way Stan always sends us commercials or videos on YouTube, and if you click on them using X, I always get two adverts. So here you are for 60 seconds waiting to watch a video, and it's like it's just too much work. I've in some of them they've extended out to like 10 seconds instead of the 5 seconds to skip it. But
Hey
I've
Tony,
seen
Russ, when is Survivor Series?
I have the answer for you. Give me 1 second.
So it's not.
12 o'clock our time, Tony.
So it's not next week. It's the week after.
Yeah.
God, it's already a year since CM Punk came back. Oh, God.
And I'm surprised CM Punk's one of the three that they're wanting for Raw. I just don't see him drawing that many people. It's like they want him, Cody, and of course Roman.
I wouldn't mind not seeing Roman ever again.
So they're actually supposed to have. It's actually supposed to be a pretty real draft this time, because like this draft was the worst of all of them because they've been on everybody's show ever since it started. It's like, yeah, Last Legend. I can't think of what her partner's name is on NXT, but you had them like twice in a row. They were on SmackDown, then they were on Raw, then like the the same week they were there on SmackDown for a championship match against the two gigantic black women. Come on, you know who I'm
You
talking
can tell
about.
this is Tony's show, can't you?
Yeah, Tony's show. But you have Bianca Belair.
Right, moving on. Right. What else do you want to
Right.
talk about, Tony? Come on.
Russ, pick a subject, Russ.
No, I'm not picking a subject. I'm only here for an hour. You pick a subject.
Yeah.
Right.
We probably
So
won't be here much longer than an hour, maybe an hour and a half.
so Sam and them were talking about video games.
Okay.
And I guess Sam was talking about if an alien species came and got you, and you're allowed to pick one video game, what game would that be?
Wrestling video game or just one in general?
Really, Russ?
No,
I'll
he's
pick.
asking you.
Which one? Is it a wrestling game or any game?
Any game.
Don't know. I probably would take WrestleFest because I do like that.
When year did that come out?
God, was that late 80s, early 90s?
Oh wow, okay. On Nintendo?
No, it was at the arcade.
He has an arcade game.
Wow.
You must remember WrestleFest.
Was it just characters or real life people?
Yeah, it had Hogan, Warrior, and Legion of Doom.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Because
Million Dollar Man and all that, yeah.
there's a game called WrestleMania. And back when the arcade game came out, I think it was also on Nintendo, but they had all the main roster on there. Maybe like I think it was like 12 guys on there. And this is when the Undertaker first came out, and he had like a move where all these bats came out, and they had Dundee Clown, they had Hulk, Ultimate Warrior, they had Randy Savage. Who else was on there?
That's not the one where he used to throw actual tombstones and stuff, is it that
I
one?
think so. It was.
Yeah, that Lex Luger, Bret Hart, Razor Ramon, all those. Yeah, I
Yokozuna,
remember
right?
that game.
Yokozuna. Yeah.
Yokozuna, yeah, I remember that game. Shawn Michaels. Yeah, I remember that game.
Yeah.
They have to have something to get your attention instead of. I hated those early video games because all you're doing is smashing buttons the entire time. Then they went the opposite way with it because first you had the UFC games, so then on the wrestling games, then you would have to use the thumbsticks to control the moves and stuff like that. And it's just like, let's just worry about gameplay. You don't have to execute. You're not playing Mortal Kombat. You don't need to do a fatality.
What was your favorite, Tony? What game would you pick?
Uh, it would probably be weird enough. It'd either be Excite Bike or if I could travel something with me, it would be the Paperboy Arcade because
Paperboy.
it actually has the handlebars, and you just sit there and press on the buttons on the handlebars to throw to the left or to the right. But Paperboy was great. It's like
Yeah.
it's like you compete, you complete your daily route. Then for some reason you become a BMX biker and you have to jump over all this shit, not land in the mud.
I remember Paperboy. That's amazing.
If I had pick, go ahead, Tony.
And another one would be for Activision, it would be the boxing they had on Atari 2600, where you're just this like black figure and you just have like a glove that comes out, or you're like the white outline with the big old white fist, but you could only move in like one direction at a time. So
God, brilliant. What game would you take, Alonso?
It would be so when I was growing up, right? When we first had the Nintendo 64, we had a Wayne Gretzky hockey, and that was almost like the same concept as NBA Jam, but it was hockey. So it was a cool concept because it was like the best three players from each team. Like NBA Jam was like the best two. Well, Wing Gretzky Hockey was made by, I think, Midway, same people who did NBA Jam, and it was like really cool game. Because I liked hockey back then, I still do, but it was like the less complex version, like it is now, like hockey Ninja in 2025, 24. Mine was like Wayne Gretzky Hockey, and it was like so cool because whenever a player was on fire, he'd be like, I think, uh, on fire literally, and then he was really really good at that point. So, but then it was NHL. It was a Wayne Gretzky Hockey for me. Um,
I
and
think I used to have NHL on the Mega Drive or Genesis.
oh wow,
but that's mainly what like Sega was known for. It's like it was Sonic the Hedgehog. Then it was their hockey games because like all the hockey fans loved their hockey games.
Those NHL games were really good, actually. I think I had two of them. I really enjoyed playing. I used to play them like hours and hours and hours on end.
what year, Russ?
To the 92, 93, something like that.
Oh wow, was it EA Sports?
Yeah, because I used to have the NHL games, and I used to have the old FIFA games as well because they were EA Sports.
So
It's
it was
in the
called.
game.
It's in
It
the
was
game,
called.
yeah.
It was called Wayne Gretzky Hockey 90. Yeah, Wayne Gretzky 3D Hockey.
Okay, and that was by Midway, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we had those over here. We did have the NBA Jam and all that sort of stuff. I used to play that as well. I used to enjoy that.
And
Sorry,
another one I
it
would.
was yeah Midway, Midway, and the logo was Atari Games. So yeah,
And I would probably pick two more Alonzo. It would be probably the Tony Hawk Underground ones. That's a one like you could actually hop off your skateboard and just run past the level and do different stuff. You compete to get skate, and they give you prizes. And the second one, it had Wee Man. It had pretty much most of the Jackass crew in it.
Yeah, I
But
never
if
got
you,
into those Tony Hawk games. To be
but
fair.
if you got enough points, right, Tony, you could buy your skateboard or new skateboard, right, at the shop.
Yeah, in the original one, you could
It's
you could upgrade stuff.
back then. I think Nintendo 64 was really underrated for their graphics, especially when we played Super Mario Brothers. Was a cool game on Nintendo 64. Um, I had fun playing that game too, and also NFL Quarterback Club was also a very good game.
Never understood football games.
I'm gonna throw a yellow card out on Alonzo because I can. This is my show, and I'm gonna throw a yellow card because you can't say Nintendo and graphics in the same sentence
Oh dear.
because they were always known for being behind because you had the Genesis, which was a 16-bit, but you had the Mario Brothers, which was 8-bit. They were always behind. They had lesser sound cords on them. Here you are in
Yeah, but
March. In
when
March, but
the Famicom came out, the Super Nintendo came out, that was 16-bit.
But I mean, the Nintendo 64, Tony.
yeah, I think at that point the other ones had went to 128 bits. The original Xbox 360 or Xbox. I mean, I said 360.
All right, okay. But didn't the 64 come out in '96?
Did the what come out in '96?
The Nintendo 64,
Potentially.
and it
No.
rivaled. Wasn't it supposed to rival the PlayStation 1 and Sega
Dreamcast.
Dreamcast, right?
Right, no, because you had the Mega Drive, the Genesis. The Genesis came out first.
Saturn.
Then
Saturn, okay.
the
That's what
Super
Saturn.
Nintendo. The Super Nintendo came out second. Then the N64. But yeah, you had the Sega Saturn and then the Dreamcast.
You're forgetting 32X. And
The 32X, yeah. But the Dreamcast come out at the same time as the PlayStation 1?
No, PS2, I think.
Yeah, it was the same time.
I never had a Sega Saturn, so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what the PlayStation wouldn't be anything if it wasn't for the fact that they first they went with DVD, then they went with Blu-ray instead of what was it called? It was like HD DVD, and you actually had a Xbox. You couldn't I don't remember what was this.
Yeah, it was HD DVD, wasn't it? But the Blu-ray came out on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Like on the Xbox, I actually had this HD DVD drive that you'd buy separate, and they had the separate disc. But it's because they went with DVD, the Blu-ray and stuff it caught on. That was their killer mistake on it. But
Big mistake.
I was thinking of it last night because I knew we might have a show today. But I was sitting there thinking about like if there was any of the early wrestling video games I would want. And the answer is really no because what I said before, they were just all the button smashing. The first one I was like overjoyed with would have been the Legends of Wrestling because you had such a like big roster. You had anywhere from Ric Flair to Rob Van Dam. So we know Alonzo would be playing RVD on Legends of
RVD.
Wrestling.
Legends of Wrestling, yeah, I remember those games. My God, they were terrible.
But the rosters, that made the difference.
Oh, the rosters were amazing, but yeah, it was just they were horrendous games.
It's like the only thing you could do is like chase somebody around with a chair and beat them. Other than that, you like didn't have any other fighting mode. It's just you bash some other guy until you pinned him. It looks like you got lightning going on in the room, Russ.
Huh?
So it looks like you had lightning going on in the room.
Oh no, my TV's on. It's something's blaring away.
Wait, watching Russ?
Oh, it's nothing in particular. It's just Catch Me If You Can. I think it's on TV on some channel. I'm not actually watching it. It's just on.
I've never tuned in to Russ TV to see lightning before. It's usually just
It's
Russ
usually worse when
existing
the
in like.
wrestling's on, isn't it? Because obviously it's like pyro and whatever going on.
It doesn't seem like it shows up as much. Maybe because there are like always 4 or 6 of us watching.
What's next? What's your next question, Alonzo? Come on.
Oh, this is a Tony Turner podcast. So Tony, you ask a question now.
Your favorite entrance, either you can do it one of two ways: entrance music or just the Triniton, just the whatever video played when a wrestler came out.
Can go first, or you want me to go?
You go first.
So, when I was younger, right, I always liked the Undertaker's tolls, the bells sounding and all that, and it became so dark, right, that I think, the kids in the audience were too scared. But then when he turned babyface, it was like he's like the anti-hero kind of good guy, right? So I think, if you're a fan of that kind of stuff, that horror kind of stuff like that, it caught your eye, and it did for me. And it seems like really symbolic to his career as well before he turned into the American Badass, right? But that growing up kind of stuck with me. I know Russ and you and I and Stan did the Survivor Series '97, and we were talking about how Mankind's entrance was kind of the same way, but different because it was like melancholy kind of music that you felt bad for Mankind because he had this deranged story that kind of fell into his entrance music, right? So, and we also talked about who was it we made fun of? Oh, it was Assaulton. Digga 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 digga.
It was just that every Indian wrestler had the same music.
Yeah, so those are my choices. Really, it was the Undertaker and Mankind. Really, for me.
And the fact that the Undertaker used to take 20 minutes to come to the ring.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like they go to the people that composed it. Can you make a 20-minute version of this song?
It's just a funeral march, isn't it? It's just like whenever I go
Yeah,
to a funeral, I expect them to play the Undertaker's music.
for the 20-minute one, you have to like resurrect Freddie Mercury and just have him do this opera ballad out of it. I mean, he was famous for doing that anyway, but I just can't imagine him doing like a 20-minute theme for the Undertaker. It'd be brilliant, no matter what it was, even if it was horrible. You'd have to admit it.
The show must
Brilliant.
go on.
Who's your favorite Russ?
Oh, it's hard. You can't really. There's so many. It's ridiculous. I don't have a particular entrance per se. I mean, I used to like Goldberg. Just walking out from his dressing room, just like they would knock on the door, and then he'd come out and he'd walk all the way through the stadium, all the way to the front doors, and then he always to get his
And,
pyro.
and they would have like the dollies following him the entire time. They would do it all in one shot.
Yeah, Goldberg security and all that sort of stuff. I used to quite. I think that was quite amusing. And then when Jericho sort of did the same with Ralphus, it made me laugh quite a bit. Um, WWE, I don't know. It's hard. It's entrances are entrances as far as I'm concerned. It's the theme
But,
music, but the theme music. There's so many good themes that have been over the years that like Legion of Doom, um, Jake the Snake. I enjoy
but
all of those theme music. All of those are great.
I just always think of that type of theme. I always think of Ric Flair when that music would kick in.
What 2001: A Space Odyssey or his old WWF theme. I used to quite like that as well.
Yeah, both of them.
But it's like Mr. Perfect's theme. I always quite enjoyed that one. I don't know why. It's just personal preference.
Mr. Perfect.
Yeah, as I say, with
DiBiase had some, but to me, you had the ones that made like you when you're a kid, like the hair on your neck stand up, like you have Hogan's kick in or like Ultimate
yeah,
Warrior,
it's true. Yeah,
Sting's so Sting somebody like that. Bret Hart's music.
yeah, it would always get you excited if you just hear the first few bars of any of their theme tunes. It was just be like, yeah, I really enjoy loads. Like you can't do what's your favorite because it will change from day to day what your favorite is.
I just remember us watching our first like I think it's pretty much the first live one we did of an event, and we would actually have to wait till we seen the wrestler to know who they were
Yeah,
because all those women they had on there, no idea what their music was. There was like four of the men that you knew who their music was. It was and now they've went in and now they're doing proper music for it. They're really pushing. How do you? I know Russ, you kind of followed them some, but when you had the machine guns walk in there and they exit with the championship belts.
I could see him.
How do you feel? How do you feel about that? Because they've been wrestling together for 20 years, and they just walk out and get the whatever they call the WWE Tag Team Champions.
Well, you need to treat them with respect. They are definitely one of the best teams in the world. It's like in the old days when the Legion of Doom just came in. You had to give them the title straight away because if they're the best in your division, the WWE Tag Team division's not great. It hasn't been great for years, and I think they're quite lucky to have a team like the Machine Guns actually in the company for a change.
I just love when it's like the bass drum and bass music at the same time, and they just really hit for bright lights. The cams, they just as bright as they can be when that kicks in.
See, I kind of miss the old tag team class because you had all these wrestlers have the same costumes, and there's something about that where you're seeing like the New Day break up now. You're seeing like all these, the factions, tag teams and the factions, and you know, you don't have those rivalries anymore. I remember back in the day we had a Heart Foundation versus the Killer Bees or the Strike Force or all these names that,
Busters.
yeah, the best Red Dogs. And now you don't have it anymore because of creative writing is an issue, and they don't build up their tag team anymore because like either they're forced to be tag team partners or it makes sense because that's what the fans want to see. For example, like you had R-Truth and The Miz. Okay, they break up. Like, they break up within 3 months of having a bout, at least being faces. So it's a big problem where back in the day, back in the 80s and 90s, you had great tag teams. Now you don't have it anymore because they're breaking up so quickly.
I remember when we did my last watch along, and I commented every time because of the tag teams, they were in exactly matching outfits.
Yep.
And to me, that because you always have that matching, and it went so extreme that you have two guys with spikes on your pads, and you stick their heads together, and then you complete the head of hair. Since Road Warriors liked shaving, symmetrically shaving their heads.
Yeah, it's like one plugged into the other. But yeah, it's like any of those old teams. I used to like the Nasty Boys. They were quite all right. They weren't great, but I used to quite like them coming out.
That was the best match on the one we watched first.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah, that was good. Really enjoyed that. But
Steiner
Brothers, Steiner's always had wore the same Letterman jackets and things like that.
Yeah.
The Varsity Club, yeah. That was a very underrated faction too. The Varsity Club. You had Kevin Sullivan. You had IRS. Mike Rotunda. Yeah, you had the Steiner Brothers. What? One of them. Then I think Rick came in last. That was a cool faction. That was a very underrated faction to me. Who else was it? Wasn't Paul Orndorff also in there too?
Possibly.
Someone else.
But Kevin Sullivan, you look at him, and you know that he has zero athletic ability. but he was such a brilliant wrestler, especially in tag teams.
Yeah.
Great mind for the business as well.
Wasn't Bret Hart's main rival Greg Valentine?
Yeah, one time, yeah.
Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Rhythm and blues.
You remember that, Russ? Wow.
Yeah, honky tonk man. Yeah.
Honky Tonk Man. That's right. Yeah.
And Greg the Hammer Valentine. He had to dye his hair black, didn't he?
I'm still sad that the honky tonk record got broke by like 100 or 213 days because I think he was uh, 400 456. And then you have Walter,
No, that's not bad
one of
though. I
our,
mean,
but
all records are there to be broken, Tony.
yeah, but he barely wrestled. He barely
Well, it's
wrestles
like
now.
bloody Roman Reigns, isn't it? You know, he barely wrestled.
Yeah.
At least Cody Rhodes actually does wrestle. You know.
And it was showing the Steiner kid, and it was showing that he had the title 100 days, but he's only defended it twice.
Yeah.
And the one episode's when he's killed Dragunov.
You'll never get over that.
I, no, he. It's like they. I think that's kind of why they stopped on pushing the Steiner kid as much. I know they gave him the Intercontinental belt, but it's like they were doing such good stuff together that every week it's like Dragunov was the highlight of Raw because he had such a great match with somebody.
Bron Breakker needs to get a bit of a personality, I think.
Yeah, he just. I mean, he only thing he does good is he like tells them to start barking. Well, whatever's he mentions whatever city it is, and better start barking, and they quickly obey.
He needs
They
to
don't know it.
start being like Scott Steiner does, just say what he likes on the mic, I think.
Yeah, they're really like Drew and him taking their time with him because he's a big superstar, but it's like kind of have to hold keep
Yeah, he
him
just needs to
reeled
work
in
on
a
his.
little bit.
He needs to work on his mic skills a bit.
It's kind of like, I mean, you said there was Brock Lesnar. He can for 4 years he couldn't cut a promo, but he finally gained the ability.
Yeah, but he was another level though, wasn't he? Christ, he was just slab of meat who could move very well.
You said that I was ready to say as he was plowing his fields and plowing his life.
But then he had Paul Heyman, so didn't have to really talk most of the time.
I still don't believe they're just like some mysterious phone booth out there in Canada. I know it's probably just one of those phones just mounted to a pole, but I think he deserves a proper like phone booth, like something Clark Kent would change in.
Going off topic. Right, you got me for another 5 minutes, so before I've got to go.
So we'll be covering live streams and one. You got this, which I thought was funny because like I seen all these lists that were saying 4 people for each team, but War Games has been around long enough. I know it's 5-on-5.
Mm.
So this week it was Sami Zayn like trying to get that fifth member and Solo. He didn't do some on spite because they haven't wrestled in a while, Alonso. So
Mm.
your hatred can be a little less, but it was basically them trying to recruit, which I, I've known in my heart. I'll let you go, Russ. Who's the fifth member of the bad line?
Uh, no idea.
I it's a be the final boss for Rock.
No,
They
it
have
can't be The Rock.
yes. I mean, who else is it to be? I think it's to be I think it's to be Rock and Cody for each team.
No,
So so who are you thinking, Russ?
I honestly don't know. I haven't watched anything recently. I just hope it's not The Rock.
At least here in 6 weeks, you'll be able to watch it live.
In 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's be yeah about 6 weeks will be when we get to see. Where we go?
I'm with you now.
To,
Okay.
to,
Yes.
you get that January 4th.
Yes.
And
SmackDown. Lovely. Yes. On Netflix.
you get your favorite here. Why does it bring it up?
So are you going to do the watch along for Survivor Series?
Yep.
Will you be on, Alonso? Are you watching it?
So I don't know yet because might have to work or not. The boss hasn't working that the Saturday beforehand, so um so it might work, but I'll get up in time to watch to watch. Yeah. So yeah.
Super. Right. I'm going to love you both and leave you.
All right,
Yeah.
see you, Russ. Take it easy, pal.
All right. But thank you for having me on, Tony, and it's nice to see
Yep.
you, Alonso. But if you need me again
Well,
next week, I will be around, more than likely.
and quickly for before you go, how often do you think you're gonna be watching the Raw, the SmackDown, and NXT? Do you think you'll try to catch up like on the weekends or?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I won't be able to watch them live, obviously, but I'll just either that or I'll just have to stick to YouTube just to find out what's going on.
It should be interesting. It's kind of like because I want to do where we still do the topical
Hmm.
things like favorite favorite wrestler from whatever WWF era, or favorite music. And
Yeah, we could talk about anything. You know, it's just like me. I like talking about all the old stuff, not necessarily the new stuff in any way. But if you got any topics about wrestling in general, I'm more than happy to
we can
as long as it's old.
we can do like a countdown thing, Russ.
Hmm.
But we'll be very glim, and the youngest one that pops in my mind, Yokozono, you know,
Hmm.
31 years old. But we can do the years compiled by how old they were when they died.
God, lovely. Yeah, you've plenty to choose from, isn't there?
But we'll always have fun on the weekends on classic watch-alongs and
Of course,
new watch-alongs.
of course. Anyway, I've got to go, guys. But take care. Enjoy
Yep.
the rest of your show, and I'll speak to you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. See you later.
All right, so I gotta go too, man.
You gotta go. Yeah, I was wrapping it up pretty quick.
Do you care to say anything?
No, like I said, well, I'll try to do this weekly because, but my plan is that's why I brought up this and the other shows because, and if you notice something about these Alonso, they do the European format for them, so that's gonna be the day they come out for us. This will be January 3rd. It won't be January 4th because it'd be at 7 p.m. But it's still weird that they get to have all three shows live on Netflix. Why we only get Raw. I'm curious how that draft's gonna play out because it's like Netflix. They pay out the $4 million, and they're to want to have a big say as to what USA Network will want. But I think since it'd be more accessible to people, I wanted anyway to do kind of just a weekly review show or just do half review, half topic, or two quarters topic and a little bit of a review of what happened. But since it's more accessible, I think it's something I want to do as the year starts. And to me, it's like Survivor Series was always my favorite of the big four. Now they try to say the big five, but it's here in 9 days, so I always got pumped up for it. I'm kind of surprised. Here you are. Tomorrow will be a week away, and you'll probably finally say who your teams are for the women. I'm not sure who the five women will be versus the other five women. That's gonna be kind of difficult. And one thing, just off for us later, real quick, a lot, Joe, before we go. It's funny. It's like they've taken the kayfabe too far away because if you're seeing photos and tweets from WWE showing Tiffany Stratton in the United Kingdom, you can't turn around on SmackDown and say she's gone because she has the sniffles or that she has a cold. It's like you can't go through kayfabe when WWE is actively telling us he's on tour in Europe. I just found that kind of weird. So, where else can we find you?
It's the Arsenal Truex Galaxy podcast where I talk about random stuff and have random martial arms. And now that NASCAR's ended, who knows what I'll do, but I'm not going to change the name because Martin Truex retired. We'll see. I mean, I might do one sooner or later, I guess.
Just don't pick up F1 or IndyCar where you can add some extra names to for title.
Yeah. Or talk about, movies or shows that people are watching or something like that.
Yeah, you missed the start. I don't know if you were listening or not. But anyway, our, our one comment there. Not sure where we were, but I was talking about to me it'd be weird to see how the UK how Europe is take having access to SmackDown Raw because I mean you've seen how energetic and happy those fans have been throughout the year because like almost every other pay-per-view has been in a foreign country. But I was telling Russ that when when the Apple TV was first coming out, they asked Netflix if he's seen Apple TV Plus as a rival. He's like, no, our rival is Nintendo Switch, which I quickly like gathered why because I mean you're some people cycle through video games or cycle through TV series and stuff. So you have all this stuff competing for your time. So I'm gonna be interested to see how many UK/European wrestling fans watch all three of the shows that to be available to them, or if they're gonna be watching football or watching drunk people play darts or cricket, for God's sakes. Sorry, UK fans, I am not a fan of cricket. Don't tell Rudy that later, Alonzo.
So,
He might be sad. Anyway, this is our first weekly show. It'd be more planned out next time, and hopefully, I'm just more than a little box on the screen. I'm not sure how this happened out here, but it is what it is. So, anyway, say goodbye, Alonzo.
say goodbye, Alonzo.
And this time, we'll see if I've learned from my past mistake. I found out because you know how it took me like 5 minutes to end the stream. What was funny is you were still in the stream, but I had ended mine, but it had kept on going because even if you like close your browser or whatever, yours keeps going until you hit the good easy way to remember is on Apple Command G, which should end with O. Let's find out if that works, Alonzo.
All right, Tony.
And for some reason, it does not work. I'll try to figure out how to end the show now. Goodbye, everyone. And we'll be on a watch out for this.